What is up, Pats Nation? It is Patriots Global back here with another video, and today we are going to be talking about another draft prospect. Guys, we only have so long to continue these draft prospect videos, well, really anything, honestly, involving the draft, because starting, I believe, next Thursday we start the NFL draft. First round, and then second round, third round, so on and so forth. And once the draft starts, obviously, these videos are not really going to matter. So obviously, today, we're going to be talking about draft prospect and wide receiver Deebo Samuel. And this kind of caught my eye once the Patriots started looking into him, when they brought him in for a workout, when we started to hear that they have a level of interest in him. And then afterwards, pretty much Deebo Samuel went on to social media and said, "Hey Billy, I'll see you in a month, my man." So kind of sounds like things went well, but of course, that could just be him getting a little bit of hype. He really is a decent prospect, especially at wide receiver. He's a guy that is expected to go into the second round, and he had 62 catches for 882 yards and 11 touchdowns just last year. I mean, one can only imagine what this guy could do if he was teamed up with someone like Tom Brady. For anyone wanting a wide receiver that is going to bring height, well, this might not be exactly the draft prospect for you. He's 5'11", so he does not reach that 6-foot peak, 214 pounds. So for a wide receiver, a pretty nice build when it comes to his weight. And he also has pretty decent speed. Now, he is not a guy like a Brandon Cooks, a Cordero Patterson, or even a draft guy like Andy Isabella, but he ran a 4.48. Definitely a guy who has speed and can use it to his advantage. When reading about him, his player biography was saying how he got his name, his nickname, Deebo Samuel, because when growing up, he used to bully other kids, and they're saying that attitude has actually proven to be a very good thing on the field, which I found to be pretty strange, but I could also see where it could translate to being a good football player. What I think gives him more of an advantage over, some of the other draft prospects that, you guys know, even some of the draft prospects I've talked about, is that this guy is a good return specialist. The Patriots do not have a return specialist. They use that in Cordero Patterson for kickoff returns, and obviously Patterson is gone with the Chicago Bears now, and this guy has had quite a few return offs for a touchdown. So not only could he be a threat in the actual passing game, but he can be a threat when it comes to special teams, and we all know Belichick just loves his special teams. If you guys follow, well, if you guys are subscribed to me, I should say, and you guys check out my community tab, you'll know I posted something earlier that said, Bill Belichick has spent more money this offseason, and in general, when you look at who the players are and what they're making on special teams, than he spent on wide receivers. Something that I think a lot of you guys are going to like about Deebo Samuel is just how hardcore this guy is. They say that each game he plays, each time that he steps on the field, he acts as if this is a, alley fight. All around, he's just a very tough and very competitive type of guy, which definitely could be good, but could also prove to be an issue now and then. They do say, though, that he lacks suddenness and might need some scheme help with motion and bunch formations in order to help him, get free against the NFL type of man coverage and press. He's a guy who really thrives once the ball is in his hand, and they say as long as he can stay healthy, because that is something that has been an issue here and there for him, actually being able to stay healthy, that he could really help a team in that slot area, which I know a lot of you guys are not looking for. He is a very subtle guy, but in that subtleness, he becomes very effective in his adjustments, in order to redirect his routes. He has excellent body control that allows him to have earlier stops and turns in his routes. He's a really fearless guy. He's not scared to take a hit. He's not scared to, go up and grab the ball. He'll use any ability that he can. He uses his body, he jumps, uses his speed, all around. A type of guy like an Edelman. That's the best comparison I can give you that really all of us are going to know is a Julian Edelman type of guy. A fierce, a hardcore competitive guy, a guy who really likes to play in the middle of the field. That's where he would likes to do the chunk of his work. But again, he'll really go for that ball, knowing that he's about to take a huge hit, but ultimately he doesn't care. Another thing that really reminds me of Edelman is that this guy has good hands. He has good contested hands, something that can be relied on, which is something Tom Brady, always needs, something he always looks for, but more specifically this offseason, going into next season with everyone we've lost and even people we have that have had their issues, Tom Brady is going to look for a guy that he can rely on. And he really just displays that will to win contested catches. He just goes up there, he gets that ball, and does everything in his power to make sure that he comes down with that ball to win the matchup. Another thing that I feel Brady would really like about this guy is that he works very aggressively in order to get back to the ball. Now, as we all know, Brady likes to now and then kind of switch up the plays. He'll, tell his receiver, while the play is going on, while it's mid-play, Brady will say, motion to the wide receiver, all right, go down, or come back, or shift to the left, shift to the right. And Deebo Samuel is a guy who very strongly makes sure that he can get back to that ball and get on the same page as the quarterback. He's also a guy that could definitely create yards after the catch. He steamrolls right through, just straight arm tackles. So in order to really get Deebo Samuel down, you're going to have to use, your hips. You're going to have to use both arms in order to get that tackle, because if you're going to try to tackle him incorrectly, then he's going to just shake you off and create yards after contact. To go pretty much onto that, to piggyback off of what I just said, they say that he actually has running back vision. He does not have the vision of a wide receiver. He has that running back vision once the ball is in his hands. So once he catches it, he automatically turns into as if he was, a running back, which is really good. He has a very good sense of the field, of open holes, which way to go, which way to not go. It also says on his draft report that he has surprising build-up speed in order to separate as an open field runner. So that goes back to what I said. This guy might not necessarily get off the line as fast as you would like other guys. Now, with that being said, he doesn't have issues, necessarily getting off the line. It's not that he's not elusive, just not as elusive as maybe some of the other guys that you would think of, again, as maybe a Brandon Cooks or someone like that. But once he gets going, his acceleration and his ability to just switch it on could really, create mismatches for defenders. And then going back to what I said earlier about him being a return specialist, he's had 4 kickoff returns for touchdowns. That was the number 4. Now, as for his weaknesses, he is a compact and he has a stocky frame, and he just looks out of place when he's playing on the outside. So, we'll have to see how that translates into the NFL, but maybe not a guy that would be placed on the outside all that often. But of course, anything can change going into the NFL. We've seen a lot of crazy things happen. He really has problems, with his footwork in order to defeat press, man coverage, getting away from the defender. And obviously, Brady's not going to throw to you if you cannot get open. That's something that is really good with Edelman, is Edelman can do all these things that I already talked about. But most importantly, he can get open, and that's why he's always getting the ball. So he's going to have to work on that. He's going to have to work on his footwork in order to get open. But if you just work with Edelman for a little while, I'm sure he could teach him a thing or two. His routes lack forward lean and vertical push. That's not something I'm terribly concerned about, though, as I'm sure Bill Belichick and the coaching staff, or whoever the coaching staff will be besides Belichick, if he was to get drafted, I'm definitely sure that they could work on that with him and get that under check. To also go with his route work, he really needs to just add that finesse to it. If he can do so, then his routes are going to go from a 5 to a 10. Like I mentioned before, he does have issues with staying healthy. His first and only healthy season was in 2018. So out of all the seasons he's played in college and all, there's only been one season where he's been healthy, and I think that's the biggest concern. I think that's also a big reason that he's, a second round projection. I don't even see him going second round with, being that injured and, having issues getting away from, man coverage and press and all. I could definitely see him going third. He's just really had past issues when it comes to his hamstrings. And, we've seen stuff like that with Malcolm Mitchell, guys who have had issues getting healthy. Patriots draft them. They have, a good season, deal with some injuries, but then ultimately, the NFL is a totally different thing. So you come into the NFL, things get a lot worse, and your career goes from, bright to short and pretty much unlived. Now, the last thing I will say about him is that he has below average catch radius and mid-air body adjustments. So, not necessarily a guy that will make crazy catches when he's up in the air, and not also a guy that you're going to see, making crazy catches all over the place. Brady would have to be, precise with him, but that also goes back to Deebo Samuel. I mean, he will have to be precise on his routes because of his inability to do mid-air body adjustments and also having a below average catch radius. And I mean, it's also never ideal to have a receiver who does not have the best catch radius, but, obviously he has other things that can compensate for that. But that is it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on Deebo Samuel? I was not expecting this video to be this long, but that's okay. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe, as it helps me, the channel, and even you guys out very, very, very much. Guys, I'm going to try to be dropping as much draft videos as I can over the next few days. We are very close to draft, like I said, so everything draft related is going to have to be dropping out, because once the draft starts, it's going to be switched to talking about the guys the Patriots drafted and how they can affect the team. But again, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Make sure you guys share this video with everybody who knows so we can go to the Patriots Global family. Other than that, I will catch you guys in another video.